कोरोना भाइरस पनि बोलिन्छ Check. Asha, am I audible? Yes. Very good afternoon, sir. This is Danush here. So can you just place a cam a bit front of you?
Okay.
Yes, sir. A bit more center. A bit more to center. Yes. Yes, sir. That's fine. Try screen sharing, sir. You wanted to screen share?
Yeah.
Yes, please do it.
Is it open? So PowerPoint is it open?
Not it.
Open ಮಾಡಿ ನಾನು ತೋರಿಸ್ತೀನಿ. Slide show ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅದು easy ಅಂತ.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
How many slides? Yes, sir. How many slides are there?
Maybe 20,
How much
25,
time will it take, sir?
50 minutes. 1 5 you said, no?
Yes, sir. 15 minutes. Yes, sir.
Enough, no? Yeah.
Okay, sir. 15 minutes is the maximum.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, sir. It's perfect.
How many participants?
Uh,
Parts registered.
Give me a second, sir. There are around 200 participants on Facebook and 15 plus participants on Zoom.
Okay. And mine would come third, no? First
Yes, so
would
yours
be
is
from
third
madam.
slot.
Yeah.
First would be Anupam ma'am's, then would be Sitappa sir's, then would be yours, then would be Vadiraju sir's.
Has they joined?
Yes, sir. I'm waiting for them.
Yeah. I used to use the Cisco WebEx platform for my
Okay.
classes and all that. This is a Zoom Premium, is it?
Yes, so this is Zoom Premium. Minimum around like 500 people can join it, and we can even give a live sessions for any platform we can.
Good.
Yes.
Now you have muted the audio for this thing, no? Participants and even the video.
Yes,
Since
yes.
we are
Nobody
testing.
can. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, sir. So very good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Siddhappa. Hello, sir. How are you?
Yeah, how are you, Mahendra?
Fine, sir. Quite a long time that we have met.
Yeah.
At least this is the platform where.
Yeah, where we can share our views.
Good. Then how are the things going on? A society, no? Yeah.
Fine, sir.
Yeah.
SSIT.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how is the things in Bangalore?
Probably you mean to say COVID?
Yeah. COVID only.
Yeah, day by day it is, probably
Getting
it is getting out of
nowadays.
control.
Nowadays, Tumkur also out of control.
I see.
Yeah, it was not there earlier.
Yeah.
Now it is increasing.
Utter negligence of people, that's all. Nothing.
Yeah, definitely. Now, as on today, 83 cases.
Oh, Tumkur, is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
Tumkur, local Tumkur.
So that is a very bad situation.
Yeah, definitely.
I
We are
did
not
not know.
expected. We are not expected this much in Tumkur.
As I said, it all in our hands, how we take up it and
Yeah,
this
definitely.
awareness.
Very good morning, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Good morning, madam.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, madam. This is Mahendra Prashant.
Hi, I'm Anupa Nyanakan.
Yeah, this is Siddhappa from Tumkur.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yet one more person has to join.
Yes, sir. Siddhappa, sir, can you just sit a bit back?
Yeah.
Little bit back. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Oh, so am I all audible enough? Everything is clear?
Yeah, clear.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Would I be able to share my screen?
Yes,
Is
ma'am.
that-
Please
is
do try
that-
it once. Please do try it out once.
Okay, yeah, it's possible. That's fine. Thank you.
That will last only for 15 minutes, right, ma'am?
What is it? My
Your everybody's talk.
yeah. Mine is just within 10 minutes. I'll be done.
Okay, ma'am. That's good to hear. Siddhappa, sir, is yours?
Yeah, 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay, sir. That's really good to hear.
Okay.
Very good. Good afternoon, Vadiraj, sir.
Yeah, hello, good morning. Good afternoon, all of you. Yeah.
Good afternoon, Mr. Adiraj.
Yeah, hello. Hello, sir. Hello, all the panelists. Nice meeting you.
Hello.
Yeah.
Well,
Hello, is all fine from my side?
it's all perfect. Everything is fine.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll be starting the session in a couple of minutes.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
So whom is the first now?
Anupa ma'am will be going first. Then will be Dr. Siddhappa sir, it will be you sir. Then will be Dr. KV Mahindra sir. Then will be Vadiraju Acharya sir.
Okay, okay.
Fine.
Yes, yes sir. And it's going live on Facebook. We have around 300 to 350 members active people watching a live right now. And we do
Oh, that's
have
great.
we have around 15 members who have registered to have an interaction session with you guys in Zoom platform.
Okay.
Sir, we'll go live. Okay. Am I visible? All set?
Yes.
No,
Yes, yes. Am I visible now, sir? Everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll be going live in a minute. 3, 2, 1. The show starts. Well, good afternoon, panelists. I greet all the panelists who are with us this afternoon with Planetech Media House. Welcome back with our 25th edition of Crafting Transformative Information webinar on COVID impact on educational institutions. What is Planetech Media House? Planetech is an independent media house that offers reliable source of information, news, and articles by helping your audience understand the vast and diverse news. And Planetech Media House will drive the change and innovate the crafting transformative experience too. We are here with the resourceable persons and the directories of every institutions out there. I would like to call upon our first speaker, who is Anupa Gangakar Sundaram, who is the Director of Education of ACTS Group of Institutions. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much and good afternoon. My name, as mentioned earlier, is Anupa Nyanakan, and I am the Director of Education at the ACTS Group of Institutions. We have 7 schools across the country in UP, West Bengal, Hyderabad, and right here in Bangalore, in both urban and rural areas. It's an amazing journey of coordinating and collaborating with different cultures, settings, languages, and school boards. You can imagine how interesting that must be. Okay, so I'm going to quickly share my slide, and a warning to everybody that I'm not going to take long. I'm just sharing my views on how we see the way forward for the education system as we coexist with COVID-19. Just a few thoughts that I have had. You may not agree with them, you may agree with them, but this is just in my experience dealing with our schools and interacting with many people in leadership and teachers and parents and students. This is what I feel is how we should move forward. So in the middle of March, all of us, all education institutions came to a sudden halt as we reached this roadblock. A roadblock also known as COVID-19. After the initial shock, everyone had to suddenly start thinking out of the box, and we all were forced to find an alternate route to reach out to our students. This roadblock definitely brought a lot of anxiety, stress, and worry. being in the position of an administrator in these schools, for me, it was all about a holistic view of how we can keep the doors of learning open during this pandemic. How can we reach the unreached? How can we make the learning continue? So we attended a lot of webinars. There came the, lots of webinars every day, something was happening. We experimented with technology, different platforms. We started training the school leaders, who in turn trained the teachers. It was a continuous motivation to help them think out of the box, to change fixed mindsets, mine included. And I must add here that most of the children in our ACT schools come from families that either have only one or no device. And this one device that they do have is a smartphone that is shared with the entire family. Or even if they do have a device, they have very limited access to the internet. So some real-time data from our schools that will help us understand the situation better. In our Bangalore urban schools, we have an average of 92.5% of the students who have access to online classes, or what we have started calling WhatsApp classes. I don't know if any of you have been experimenting with that as well. And in our Bangalore rural and slum schools, we have an average of 72.2% who have access to WhatsApp classes, but then 60% of them don't check WhatsApp very often. So then we fail in that area. 73% of our high school students manage to come online for an actual live online class between 7 and 8 p.m. every day for a class. Why at this time, you may ask? Because this is when their parent who owns the smartphone comes home from work, and that's when the student can take the smartphone and log into a class. And in all our other schools across the country, which are all in rural settings, an average of 73% have access to WhatsApp, and only 40% have access to a live online class. So as you can imagine, the main stress was us trying to find a way to reach these students and families and to keep the learning continuous. The stress was also trying to make sure that our leaders and teachers were not losing hope and were not giving up, and they were trying to find ways to reach the unreached. We had several brainstorming workshops with a guiding question: how will you continue the learning even if there is no access to a device, to the internet, to WhatsApp? I will come to this a little later. Moving on, in the past, each school, and I'm sure all of you will agree in the education system in India, has been under the pressure to conform to traditional methods of teaching, to conform to encouraging rote learning, to conform to teaching for exams and not teaching for understanding, to conform to promoting subjects like maths and science while looking down on arts, and to conform to not giving room for students to ask questions, and to conform to not addressing mental health issues among the students. Schools were forced to conform because this was what parents expected and what the society demanded for. No matter how hard I tried to fight against the system, it seemed to be a never-ending battle. At the beginning of the lockdown, there was a lot of worry, concern, and anxiety about how portions were going to be completed. When would the exams happen again? And there was so much of stress because these exams got interrupted. Principals and teachers and parents were all in a flurry. Sadly, these are the worries of a school system that is based on final exams. As the lockdown continued, however, this worry started focusing on something else: how to make learning accessible to everyone. There's a word in this sentence that makes my heart leap for joy. Can anyone guess? Is there a chat option? Would anyone like to guess what word in this sentence makes me very, very happy? Or you can even unmute and tell me. How to make learning accessible to everybody. Can anyone guess?
By making it more joyful or like interactive?
No, there's a word in this sentence. There's one word in this sentence that makes me very happy. Sorry, I'm trying to make this a bit. That's a good word, but no, something else.
Every child.
We'll move on. Learning. For me, the one amazing thing that has come out of this crisis is that our teachers have finally understood the true meaning of learning. You know, in the past, the teachers would do a lesson out of a textbook, write the question and answers on the board, and children would copy them down. Do you think this was learning? I don't think so. And now that they don't have access to the children being in front of that blackboard, they are forced to allow the children to answer the question and answers on their board. And on their own, in their own notebooks. So this, I believe, actually, they are actually learning. Learning is actually happening. So during my interaction with teachers after, a month of online teaching, at first they were stressed, like I mentioned, and then they started interacting, sending out work on WhatsApp. They were getting responses. And suddenly, all their terms started changing to education should be based on real life situations. Before it used to be, no, ma'am, we have no time. We have to complete the portions. We have to do the exams. Unit tests are coming. We don't have time for activities. But now everything was changing. They were saying that education should be based on real life situations. We need to be more empathetic. We need to start thinking critically and help our students think critically as well. Education needs to be more practical. We need to build on students' skills. Every child is different. We need to teach children how to adapt to change. Children need to learn how to learn. We need to collaborate with parents. We're free to be creative now. Isn't this amazing? These are words straight out of the teacher's mouth. For years, I had been telling them these terms and hoping that they would think this. And sadly, it took a pandemic for them to realize this. The way I see it, this virus isn't going to go away in a hurry. We can't keep waiting for things to go back to normal because they may not. I kept hearing from my principals in the beginning when schools shut down, once school starts, we'll do this, or once school starts, we'll do that. And for a long time through this crisis, I couldn't get anyone to think beyond about how it's going to be instead of going back to normal. Unfortunately, and soon they did realize that we have to learn to coexist with reality. And the reality right now in our case is COVID-19. It is time for us educators to start looking ahead, whether it be online education, face-to-face classes, physical classes, or blended learning. This is our chance to think strategically and creatively. And it's our chance to reimagine our schools. Whether we conform or not, this is our chance to redefine and reinvent teaching and learning. And through this journey of change, let us make our schools resilient platforms that ensure continuity of learning, equity, and quality of learning. Instead of looking at this roadblock as a negative thing, which in our case is this pandemic, let us look at this roadblock as new direction. So instead of looking at it as a diversion, which has a negative connotation to it, let's give it a positive twist and look at it as new direction. To me, this new direction is catering to a world that is struggling with racism, violence, hatred, casteism, poverty, injustice. The list can go on and on. Our education system needs to inculcate qualities and attitudes in children to go out into the world and bring peace, harmony, hope, and justice in their societies. I'm not saying that we need to do away with maths and science and all the other subjects. All I'm saying is that we need to give importance to everything and not just what we think is important. We need to focus on the all-round holistic development of every child. I like what someone, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I like what someone said recently about this current academic year and all the uncertainties that go along with it. This is not a year for learning outcomes, but a year to keep kids connected. I'm going to repeat. This is not a year for learning outcomes, but a year to keep kids connected. I'd like to end with this quote that says, in the rush to return to normal, use this time to consider which parts of normal are worth rushing back to. So I urge us all, my urgent plea is that as we move forward and as we long to go back to what we thought was normal, let's take time to reflect, think back, look at what was good, what was bad, do away with what was bad, and let's move forward, learning from our past experiences and looking positively at how we can change our school system. Thank you so much.
That was really an informative session of how schools have been reacting on the COVID situation. And yes, it's absolutely the perfect thing we mentioned about saying it. We shouldn't stop at the road. When it is constructing a road or something, we'll take a diversion and move to the destination. We'll reach to the destination. And this new direction which schools have taken as virtual platforms. I have a question for you on this, ma'am. Do you think this virtual platforms will gain more knowledge for every kid? Are we reaching out in a particular way?
Yeah, are you saying that will we be able to reach them better through the?
Yes.
Yeah. See, unfortunately, those of us who live in a different world and we don't agree with technology and we think of things like screen time and online and things like that, we need to um, face the fact that we are in the world of technology today. And I think it's all about finding a balance, which we need to teach. As parents, we need to teach that to our children. As teachers, we need to teach that to our students about finding a balance. And yes, I do think that if we can get into their world, a world that they are comfortable with, which is technology, that yes, we will be able to reach them. But having said that, I also believe that we need to find a blend of both using technology and a face-to-face physical kind of interaction, which I think is the way forward.
That was really amazing to hear from your side. And I do have another question. You mentioned not a learning outcome. We have to learn the kids to keep getting connected.
Yeah.
How are you making your own organization kids to get connected to the teachers to the regular basis? How we attend the schools?
Correct.
How is
Yeah.
that
So,
been done?
so we, right from the beginning, like I said, there was an initial shock where everyone had no idea how to cope with it, and there was a long silence. And then slowly we realized that this lockdown is going to continue. So that's when we started. We got each class teacher to start calling their students. And it was not calling them to say, do this or do that or open your textbook. It was just, at first, it was just a social call to say, hi, how are you? What's going on? How have you been passing your time? So every week, the teacher would call the students, and we have continued that. And even now that we have started some kind of classes, wherever it works, the teacher is in constant touch with the students and the parents.
That was amazing an idea. You got a very good output of all this social connectivity things. I think everyone should follow this to get a better outcomes of student creativity.
Thank
And
you.
how do you, like, for an example, a classroom teaching is totally different from virtual teaching. How are you going to pull out the creativity from the students staying at different place and having a video conference call with them? How are you going to do that with the kids? It's different with regarding the graduation or undergraduation students. So the
Yeah.
kids' mentality mindset is totally different. A
Yeah.
practical knowledge more impacts them than a theoretical knowledge. How are you going to
Absolutely.
do that?
I'm not saying that we have succeeded so far. We're still learning. It has just been a few weeks of online classes. We're now in July. We started halfway through June. So we're still learning, but we're trying. So like I said, that we haven't really been having online classes as such because most of our students don't have access to an online class. We only do that for the high school. And there we're trying to make them work more on their own. We try to break up a class into halfway through. We say, okay, go and run and find something blue in your house. So they go
Wow.
and run and find, just to make them get up and walk around and do things. And so it's a lot of self-learning, I would say. Like I was talking about WhatsApp classes earlier. That's not really a live interaction. It's just that the teacher sends an activity or a worksheet or something on WhatsApp to the parents' phone, and the children do their work on their own. So that I would say is creative because the children have to be creative in completing the task on their own without too many instructions from their teacher. Of course, the parent is interfering a lot. That's another problem that we're facing. But I think I don't know. Call me in a few months and I'll tell you. It's too soon to say. We're still trying and experimenting stuff.
For sure, we'll be staying in connect. And I want to hear that happy answer from your side, saying that's successful. And with one last question, I want to wind up. Give a short note. Being as a director of an educational institutions, how are you going to make all your teachers staying strong, and for your students out there to keep a strong yourself, because this situation is not going to last for long. Everything
Absolutely.
has a full stop.
Yes, yes, you're right. So, like I say, when I said about keeping kids connected, for me, my job has trying to be connected with the school leaders and the teachers. So we have been making sure that their mental health is doing okay. We don't only meet for work calls or for staff meetings. We also meet just to chat online on Zoom and just to share recipes and things like that. We have been working on a survey form for the teachers to fill up in confidentiality, so that they can share if they're feeling stressed about anything, or if they're worried, or what areas we can help them with. So yes, we are aware that teachers are under a lot of stress, and we are working on that as well.
That was really amazing to hear from your side, ma'am. Thank you for being on a platform of Planetech Media House. Really glad to have you here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yes. Well, let's get back to the session of crafting transformative information. And our next speaker would be Dr. M. Siddhartha, who's an academic dean and head of the Department of Computer Science Engineering, the Siddhartha Institute of Technology, Tumkur. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Tanush. Uh, in the world, due to COVID-19 pandemic, the schools and colleges across the country were shut down. As per the present situation, there is uncertainty the schools, colleges to be reopened. No doubt, the crucial time for higher education sector in India, with 93 university, 39,931 colleges, 10,725 standalone institutions, nearly 37.4 million enrollment in the higher education. The impact of the COVID-19 was the structure of teaching, learning, and assessment is badly affected by the closure of educational institution due to COVID-19 pandemic. It has severely affected the continuity of learning more than 285 million young learners in India. A large number of Indian students enrolled in universities abroad are barred from continuing their education due to COVID-19. If the situation persists like this in long run, there will be a decline in the demand of international higher education. There are some strategies to be followed by the government. A multidimensional strategy can manage the crisis and build the Indian education system in the long term. The pandemic is already steering the educational sector forward through online teaching, infusing the virtual study culture in the technological innovation in the country. The open source digital learning solution and learning management software should be adopted effectively by the higher education institution, all higher education institutions as much. Ambiguous access personalization of education system in the remote parts of the country, and that has to be ensured by the government. Immediate measures are required to migrate the effect of pandemic on job offers, internship programs, and research projects, etc. One of the opportunities to focus amidst the crisis of the virtual internship, which allows the students to go beyond their curriculum and the self-learning method. A balance on the curriculum is required to promote a skill that drive employability, productivity, health, and well-being youngster learners. Online support groups along with the emotional help by the lecturers are very much required to strengthen the system. Educating the students simultaneously about their anxiety, the current state of confusion, fears, and emotion not only preserves their stability but also make them aware how to cope up with the stress. There are many challenges in the higher education during the COVID-19 also. Integration of technology in the present Indian education system, which is not relevant. It is probably the first time for India to experiment with this education system and make the paradigm to shift the virtual teaching. So far, it will be on a online. There is no online teaching, only offline class teaching is there. India not fully equipped to make education to reach all the corners of the nation via digital platform or online classroom. But the university and the government of India was relentlessly trying to come up with a solution to resolve this problem. The time has come to implement
Sir, sir, what happened? Any issues? Siddhapa, sir?
I think it could be interconnect issue.
Interconnection issue with Siddhapa sir's account. Well, we'll move forward and we'll ask Siddhapa sir to join back. Uh, Mahendra sir, can you take over the show?
Sure.
sorry,
Okay.
sorry.
Yes, sir.
There are some few suggestions to the government. The government missionaries shall ensure that internet facilities is made available at the free of cost for all the citizens, anywhere in the state or the country. As far as possible, online exams shall be made with the objective question papers. Attendance should not be treated as to be one of the significance as far as the online teaching concerned. Possibly online system, the curriculum may have to be fine-tuned to be more flexible, vast and industry helpful. These are the online classes if we conduct during the COVID-19 as a pandemic. But at the same time, if you see the lecturer part of it, because so far I have heard in 2005 when I had been to USA, I have taken as a resource person, I have taken a class for an online class for students in 2005. Those classes is not running in India. But now, because of this pandemic, we are facing such problem now. Now, from here onwards, at least we can able to culture our students to use these online classes regularly, monitor them so that we can give some free time to prepare for the class. And also, we are moving from output paradigm to outcome paradigm. That's also an important part of it. As the madam told, the learning outcome is the most important rather than the learning output. Nowadays, as per NBA norms, National Board of Accreditation and AICTE, we are on outcome-based education, not the output-based education. So now we are slowly paradigm shift. And also, the teachers are most teachers learning is teacher focused and it should be a student focused. I think you might know the difference of teacher focused and the student focused. So now we are moving towards the system in such a way that we should teach the students as what the student wants. You should not teach the students what the teacher wants. That's the most important in the current education system. In earlier days, the measurement is with the output. Nowadays, measurement with the knowledge. What knowledge the students will gain to carry out the work in the industry. So as of all of you know, in the higher education, if you take industry 4.4, 4.0 is existing already, is moving towards industrial 6. So we have to make ready with the students to face the for industry 6, not the 4. Anything else?
Was really an amazing session by you, sir, and I really like the facts which you have been given about how a particular engineering institute is been facing down. And I do have a question for you. You mentioned about the measurement of the knowledge, because me being from your institutions, how are you gonna? We want to know how the examinations of every degree college should be conducted.
Your voice is scrambling.
Am I audible clearly?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
co-panelist?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. How are you planning to conduct the examinations online, and will that be the same curriculum where it has been equal to the theory exams if be given physically?
Yeah, definitely. Today I had a meeting with the principal and the other administrative officers. In my college, we are conducting online examination now, giving a question paper and ask them to submit the paper within a stipulated time. Because as the COVID-19 was started in the month of March, lockdown was started in the month of March. So till March, we can able to cover 3 units. So maximum 3 questions will be given to them, and they will ask us to write on a paper and submit the copy to us. We are conducting the online examination now for the
That's
subject,
really
for the
yes.
subjects what they have studied, even for the design also, even for the drawing also, but only practical and project work we are going to evaluate with the CAE marks, continuous internal evaluation only. We are not going to conduct any practical examination online. Only theory examination will be on the online.
That's really good to hear about from your institutions. And this year we will be
Even
completing the COVID.
many of the institutions are conducting the same way. I think probably BMS College of Engineering, they have conducted the test. Even Acharya College, they used to do it. Even Dayanand Sagar, they used to do it. And we are conducting the online classes for our students.
That's really good to hear about, sir. And I do have a question, another question.
Hmm.
This curriculum will be done down by doing online classes and online sessions. What is your further plan on the other curriculums for the next academic year?
Even for next academic year, we plan to go for online classes starting from September 15th. Whether the government has given the permission to start the colleges or not, we are going to start the college by September 15th only. The online classes or the offline classes. If the government gives the permission for us, we'll conduct the offline classes. Otherwise, online classes will go as per schedule.
That's really amazing, sir. And do you think the creative knowledge, because we're all engineering students, and do you think the particular knowledge is shared during an online class when it compared to offline class? How do you talk about that?
No, we cannot. Practical knowledge definitely we cannot share in the online classes. Only theoretical knowledge only we can share. But
Yes.
definitely they have to attend the practical session when they come to the college. That also will teach. We plan to teach. But here we can make some stimulation. But exactly we cannot able to show it here.
Correct, sir. Correct. Well, that was
For as
amazing
a
to have.
for
Yes, sir.
engineering students, practical hands-on session is the most important. It may be a coding, or it may be a design, or it may be a construction, or it may be anything. But for computer science, especially more or less theoretical rather than probability or a design. Only coding is important. They can do coding anywhere. But if you take a civil engineering problem, but they have to design, construct in the laboratory only.
Correct, sir. And how I would wind up the session with one last question. A short note for all the institutions head, being an academic dean of Siddharth institutions. Give a short note on how are you going to come back on this COVID impact?
No, we have taken some time to get adjusted. In the March 14th, we are declared a lockdown. As I told you, we have completed the midterm examination for our students. Within the short notice, I make all my faculty members to prepare for online classes. They have taken some classes, they have taken the Zoom, some classes they have taken the GoToMeet, some classes they have done it in the what you call Google Meet, Google Classroom. So we got a lot of responses. The students have submitted the assignment through the Google Classroom or the Zoom. But since because of I came to know that Zoom is a China product, we are not using the Zoom as such now. We are using a Google Classroom or GoToMeet, GoMeet Classroom, or one more app is Edmo. We are using for online teaching. So from September 15th, regular online teaching classes will run, not through this app. The college only adopting the system. We have a video cameras will come. We are all making arrangement for all these things in the college.
That was really great to hear, sir. We're really glad to have you on a platform of Planetech Media House. Thank you so much for being here.
Definitely, I'm also very happy to share some of the things with you and also other panelists to have such an interaction session with you people. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Let's get back to the session of crafting transformative information. And our next speaker of the session of COVID impact on educational institutions would be Dr. KV Mahendra Prashant, sir, who is a professor and head of the Department of Electronics and Communication College, SJBIT, Bengaluru. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, let me welcome you all to this session. I'll be talking on this digital technologies for learning, the need of the hour, as it is very much related to the other topics that we had in the session today. Let me explore what are the possibility connected to digital technologies for learning in the present situation. As we all know, because of this COVID-19 pandemic crisis, whether it could be industrial sector, agricultural sector, transportation, whatnot, every sectors have come to a standstill, including the teaching and learning process across the institutions globally. So let me explore the following aspects connected to the digital learning, why digital technologies in learning, advantages of digital technologies, trends in digital education in India, digital education tools, and of course, Education 4.0, as Dr. Siddhapa was talking about, Industry 6.0. Let me explore a little bit on this Education 4.0, and that's how it goes in my presentation. Now, first thing is we will start to adapt to whatever the crisis or the situation could be. Digital learning, as everybody knows, that digital learning is a type of learning that is accompanied by the technology, okay? And also it would be assisted by the instructional practice for effective learning and teaching methodology. So if you look at the digital learning strategy, it may include one of these aspects or the combination of this. For example, adaptive learning. In adaptive learning, we'll be looking about various techniques and the methodology that we adopt for offering unique importance and expressions, and each unique individual student will be having the understandability level. And this adaptive learning provides the necessary platform to look upon the issues depending on the individual caliber of the students. We have blended learning, classroom technologies, e-textbooks, learning analytics, of course, device, direct device accessibility like mobile learning, mobile phones, laptops, computers, iPads, Even the personalized learning, online learning, technology enhanced teaching and learning, and virtual reality. So the next question that arises is why digital technologies in learning process? So it is very much need of the hour that we must have to, with the available time and the technology that we have, how effective the teaching would be. That's the big challenge. And the technologies, as you could see, we will be using cloud computing, the moves, smart boards, tablets, laptops, etc. For all this, which is very much supportive for this teaching learning process. And how, with all these technologies, improve the academic delivery and the students' assessment. Assessment is one of the factor that we must have to look upon as far as performance evaluation is concerned. And how it would be the better learning experience and personalized content with greater access to courses for skill development. And next, if you look at the digital learning, of course, if the situation persists for another few months, it would be very much feasible, and we must have to look upon how the future education would be and dependability on this online courses and that with all this digital technology support. Then smart technologies, this is what we must have to have overall educational framework in the country. And of course, the major aspect that we must have to look upon, as Madam was also, I was just noting that around 95% are being accessed at urban area, and only 72% could able to access through online courses. And the major challenge that we have is to have high-speed internet and direct-to-device technologies, especially in the rural areas. And there's a big challenge we must have to look upon in these aspects. Even government has taken initiative in this regard, how this could be improvised. And that is one of the business openings that we have, especially in these modules. And going ahead, if we look at this, why we must have to, if we prepare any source, it can be used for multiple time with and provision for modifications, etc., etc. That's one of the significant aspect that we have in digital technology, and it saves a lot of resources, and especially in rural area. We have one school, we have an institution, but if you look at the teacher to children ratio or a staff to student ratio, it would be very much pathetic. Okay, in many institutions, I come to know that a single or a two staff is managing the whole, institution, handling the subjects, whatever they come across for all the standards that they have. So here, digital technology is one of the solution where it can reach any number of people with the necessary support from the technological aspect, and we can go for a collaborative learning. Interaction would be effective, and even many colleges and institutes and even universities are using and are being familiarized with the various digital tools to foster success to the education online. What are the advantages? I quickly go through the advantages. Digital learning makes students smarter, of course, compared to the traditional method. Apart from some of the technical aspects or some problems, it would be very much effective, and it is very much self-directed learning skills. Okay, and it would be very much hands-on, and what they need to learn, they'll be use online resources, apply the information on problem at hand, and a project-based learning would also be very much efficient, and it how helps for ultimately for placement also. Next, the making students self-motivated and accountable. As we have understood in the digital mode of learning, it is supportive for teamwork and critical problem solving, like in a group, and concept maps, reverse teaching, and even there is a scope for more interaction. It will be very much memorable if it is been taught in with the usage of multimedia, etc. And it would not be just like one-sided. And we can make these students to be active and more engaged with the activities. Again, that all depends on how creative the teacher is and how effectively grab the attention of the students. That's really a challenging one. And if you look at the third advantage, the tools involve educators deeper extent option for customized learning. So that means there will be an ample opportunity to customize learning sequences. And there is a scope for customizing. Each individual has got its own IQ level. And being interacted, we can have that all the options looking at the problem framing, solution seeking from an individual, and it would be more effective rather than considering the entire community at the same level. And even the project-based learning would be of more helpful in collaborative learning. And fourth one is increasing student employability. Of course, with all these advantages, definitely, especially this digital learning solution, it provides, based on problem-based learning, it definitely emphasizes on learning methods that are constructive, collaborative, and cause the students' attention to a real-world approach to learning. So, you will have the option of taking up the project which is of real time. And if you look at the trends in educational, especially in India, this is the social media. Everybody knows that it's fine if it is for a good sake, if it has been used. Many teachers and students use social media, and that develops the networking. That develops the cultivate of working as a team, interacting with the people across the state or across the globe with the resource persons, and they could able to get the solution for whatever that the problem that they are facing in their respective projects or in their academic related works. And it would be very nice to have the interactive learning resources if we have a process of reward with these innovative digital aids. And if you look at this, as I mentioned, it would be very much effective if it is a combined learning. And I can, sitting at this place, I can interact with the people across the world, and I could seek whatever that without much time. Okay, and providing digital education is crucial to their long-term survival and growth. This is what we must start to. With all this, how can this help in the rural region? This is what I was telling. What are the challenges? It is outdated teaching methods, shortage of teachers, inadequate student-teacher ratio, insufficient teaching resources. Can we think of some solutions to this? Definitely. Digitization of education. As we have, most of us are aware, we must start to teach. There's remote places with all the latest teaching tools and methodologies, at least to have minimal requirement of LCD screens, videos, etc. Of course, we must have to have a strong internet connections. The technology connects teachers with students at one time, and this is what I was talking about. If you find shortage of faculty, probably this digital technology can help significantly to address this issue to some extent. And Um, okay, this how the technology also helps, uh, especially for the issues as Madam was telling, it's around 70% of students could able to access. So we can really do something for uh, this community who are in a rural background. Next, the next comes to us is what are the digital education tools for teachers and learners? See, Edmodo is one of the fine platform that we have to interact with the students, and know where we can have a collaborative activities. We can interact with the students. We can we can post the quiz, assignments, the small projects, and we can evaluate. Everything would be done. Okay, and even the performance evaluation could be evaluated, and in turn, the major aspect is how we can make this parent to be a part of this. So this is the platform where we can make the parents to be a part and to look upon their students or sorry their wards performance and how effective the teaching could be. We have another Socrative, especially if we need to provide exercises, assignments, etc., in the form of fun-filled activity, and this is one of the best tool where the students could be made to interact, and we can monitor the activities and modify the lessons accordingly, and we can post it for their performance evaluation. And this is what I would like to share. We have around 350 plus faculties in our institution, and we have adopted this digital mode of teaching from the last 3 years with the initiation and mm, no, the importance uh, being understood well in advance by our beloved principal, Dr. Putraju, and our managing director. Because of that initiation, those initiation, we could able to achieve, and probably from the last 4 years, we are using uh, the Edmodo platform, and each staff member were being given iPad, and all this no teaching that is being done in the institution is of digital mode. Each individual staff member will go to the classroom, which is equipped with LCD and Apple TV and being taught, unless it is required for any numerical or problematic subject. It would be it is being taught through digital mode of teaching. And after completion of half module or complete module, on the necessary quiz or additional assignment is being posted for the students, and performance is being evaluated. That's one thing. Secondly, all these faculties were being asked to develop this iTunes U course in their respective subjects, and they have the credit of their own book, which is being shared to the students in the respective subjects that they are teaching. And this is one of the college that is being implemented, and this is the first college to implement in Karnataka as of the information that I have and being gathered. And another to share the information, and if there is any possibility of writing the books, there is a provision to go for this iBook where the faculties, especially in the process level, they author the books in their respective area of interested domain, and this is also being developed in the institution. And third, we have this project. This is another tool. Many times the students are amazed with this multimedia presentation with all the graphical representation. It would be very much supportive for the students if they need to share their slides, and if they need to interact with maps, links, online quizzes, directly to the Twitter, timelines, etc., etc. This is one of the tools that they can use. And we have Think Link. It creates interactive images with music, sounds, text, and photographs. And this also very much useful to have to share the information in a collaborative manner. And we have TED-Ed, okay. This allows creating educational lessons with the collaboration of teachers, students, and animators, okay. And probably it is something related to Wikipedia, where if there is any scope for improvement of information that is being shared in that particular platform, that could be done by these students, teachers, and also be the part of that group. We have CK12, and this is an open source website. All these ebooks, the projects, the video clips, audio, etc., that could be easily accessed through CK12. And we have EduClipper. This is also a collaborative platform where the teachers, students are being involved. Okay, in this EduClipper, they can collect information found on the internet and they can share it with the members. And if it has been previously created, that could be amended, that could be changed, that could be improvised, and all this could be possible in this EduClipper. Okay, and we have Animoto. So this is one where we have a high resolution. The video could be recorded, shared, and this how could also be interacted with the students, especially with the help of mobile, etc., etc. We have Kahoot. This is an education platform, and especially for gaming, etc. Through this tool, they can interact with all the assignments, the questionnaires, discussions, surveys, etc., could be interacted, and this is the best platform for that also. In that, having said so, what is that we can think for the years to come? So, in higher education, the combination training method that involves online training games is expected probably. This is one of the survey that statistics that I could learn from this. It is almost 38%. And there is very much, there is no other go. Probably we must have to adopt transformative and innovative approaches in higher education. Probably gradually almost all the institutions are on par with this, and the expectation is there is a direction from the higher authority, from the technical background. And from the government, there is a commitment that gross enrollment ratio should also be more than 50%. Okay, and very important aspect is emerge as a single largest provider of global talent with 1 in 4 graduates in world. This is what the need of the hour we must have to look upon, and it's the contribution among all the technocrats and the industries that we must have to look upon. Be among the top 5 countries in the world in terms of research output with an annual R&D spend of almost 140 billion. And another the future aspect that we are looking for is more than 20 universities among the globe. Top university must have to be from India. So with this, what is the potential for development in the educational scenario? We have 4 aspects. If you look at the robust demand, we have in the age bracket of 5 to 24 years, okay, there are large opportunities, especially in education, because there is a wide gap between the demand that is required from the industry and what we have from the educational institutions, how the output from the institutions. Secondly, competitive advantage. So what is that? The advantage is compared to the other countries, India has been ranked 34 out of 100 countries in English proficiency. That is what is very much appreciated. There is a scope for that. And as far as policy support, as everybody knows, in higher professional institutions, National Board of Accreditation is looking upon the complete aspects of quality of higher education, and there will be a very much strict regulatory body that we have, and increasing investment. If you look at the investment, there will be an inflow of $3 billion. Okay, as far as foreign direct investment in the education sector that has been. So this is what the potential that we have in the educational, especially in this scenario that we must have to look upon. And before going for this education 4.0, let me tell about the revolutionary aspects as far as industry is concerned. The first industrial revolution, based on the sources that we have for the productivity, it was using water and steam power to increase manufacturing productivity. In the second revolution, it is the electric power to facilitate the mass production. Whereas the later part of it, with the advanced technology that has brought later in the semiconductor and very large scale industry, which has made these electronic devices and IT, information technology, to automate manufacturing processes. Now, probably in India at least, the need of the hour is to go for this fourth industrial revolution. Okay, so which transforms the world, and this is what all the industry must have to equip themselves to match the technologies that we have in Internet of Things, which would be very much supportive for this IoT, big data, artificial intelligence, which are the impacting major industries. And even the job seekers are looking for this. Okay, if that is the case, what is this education 4.0? If we have that our education on par with the line that we have in industry 4.0, so that is what education 4.0 is, desired approach to learning that aligns itself with the emerging fourth industrial revolution. So what it does, so it will cater the need of industry 4.0. It will deploy the potential of digital technologies. And lastly, it will create a blueprint for the future of learning. So it is a must. We academicians and the institutions must have to adopt this education 4.0. Lastly, I'll end my presentation with a quote from Socrates. The secret of change is to focus all of our energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. With this, end up with my presentation. Thanks for your patience listening.
That was really informative and educative talk about things, and you mentioned about the education 4.0. I really liked about those insights, and you also mentioned how your college is been presenting on digital education from before lockdown. And I do have a question for you, sir. You
Yeah.
mentioned about 70% people are having resource for having online education. What about the remaining 30% who are living in urban?
No, that's what I come to know the statistics from Madam who has shared the statistics that only she could able to access to 72%. Okay. Uh, yeah. Especially from rural, whereas 95% that could be accessed from urban. So one of the solutions that even from the government point of view, they must have to look upon to equip and to look upon what are the digital supportive technology that we must have to provide to the rural areas also. That is very much required as an essential so as to make up this uniformity. And as you said, we are using this digital technologies not before the lockdown period. It is from the last 3 to 4 years. And all this evaluation, assessment, quiz, and even the performance evaluation, all this is being done digitized. And it is the initiation of our beloved principal and the managing director who has given significant importance with all this forethought that it could definitely be the need for in future.
Need for an hour.
Of course.
So, 4
How? Yeah.
And Mahendra sir, I do have another question for you. What about the placements which has been happening because all the final year students have been suffering a lot to get a job right now, and the few who have got down into the placements, they're getting an unoffered letters. What do you say? What do you talk about this on the educational sector?
You mean in this, COVID crisis or prior to that? What exactly you mean to say?
During this period.
During this period, all the final year graduation students are very feeling tough because few have attended placements and few have got placed. And what about the remaining people? Do we have to stay back home for the long time?
See, first priority must have to be given for health. Okay. Only then looking at all the guidelines, because we being the university affiliated to VTU, we must have to follow the guidelines from the university and ACT and the upper body. Number one. Number two, as far as placement, we are doing our best. Probably we have a dedicated, a placement department who is looking after the activity. Right from the semester one, they are being trained with all the necessary requirement to face the interview and all the tests that is required from the employers. As far as the present situation, even during the COVID situation, we have conducted online training. Okay, we have a dedicated center of excellence, for the institution, which looks after all the requirement for this placement also. And probably yesterday only it was signed what all the modules that is being covered, and every almost a fortnight or a week or so, we do get the letter intimating to the students to go for this online test, interview and whatever the procedure from the placement to look upon for the students, and it is being happening, nothing be getting hampered as far as my knowledge is concerned. And yesterday also I saw one of the employer who has shared the date and test, technical test, etc. rounds that they have in placement that is happening.
That's really good to hear about this happening issues out there. I hope this. Yes,
and
yes,
one
sir.
more, I would like to share our placement. Our institution has been adjudged as to one of the best placement center in Karnataka.
That was really amazing to hear about. So that was really proud to hear about.
Yeah.
That was really amazing to have a conversation with you. Hope we get out of this corona crisis as fast as we can and get into a normal life as soon as possible. Thank you so much for being on Plantic Media House. We're glad to have you here.
Your mic position probably disrupting this audio. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you all the panelists for having made me to a part of this platform. Thanks for this wonderful provision that you have made me to be a part of it.
Yes, yes, sir. And let's get back to the session with crafting transformative information. And our next speaker would be Mr. Vadiraj Acharya, who's Assistant Professor, Department of Information Science, Jyoti Institute of Technology. Sir, over to you.
Yeah, good afternoon, all of you. So I'll be taking a minute to share the PDF. Kindly bear with me.
Yes,
Meantime, thanks for your organization to accommodate me in this particular talk with all the learned people, because it is little I feel nervous being a panelist, because there are so many learned people here. So amongst them, I'll have to talk about how I felt during this pandemic. Okay, so fine. So this is my presentation. Hope you guys are able to see it. Is it visible to all of you? Hello?
Yes, sir, it is. Yes, yes.
Yeah, so my name is Vadiraj. I work for a college called as Jyoti Institute of Technology in Bangalore. We are fairly new, as in we are around 9 years since the inception. So this year we are very happy to announce that we are adjudged as one of the top 300 colleges in the nation by NIRF. Thanks to all the effort from our management and faculty and the other research institute that we have, CARC. So when I was asked to talk about, participate in this particular webinar, I thought, okay, let me share my experience during this lockdown period that we had, and then what all I did as an educator. So, so what was the normal? How was the pre-COVID era or the lockdown era? So we had the beautiful college life. We all used to go to the college every day. We used to have beautiful interaction with the students. We used to see them live, teach them live in the class, right? And then we used to have lots of hands-on sessions, laboratory experiments, other projects that we used to take up. And then we used to meet our colleagues every day. And we used to have face-to-face meetings with the management and other people, right, for some decisions that we had to take to run the institution. And then we all used to use online platform for teaching, learning, but that was only 40%. Like we all used to use Moodle and things like that, but not all, right? But and then involvement of the students were 95%. Of course, majority of the time, students used to turn up to the classes. They used to submit the assignments regularly. They used to take up the projects, come to the college, execute the projects there itself, submit the assignments regularly, take up assessment tests. All these used to happen. And then how oftenly we used to create digital content? Only 40% of the time, right? Only few of us thought of using YouTube or anything like that to create digital content, like record a session and share it offline, or record a lab experiment, share it offline. Personally, I did it, but majority of the time we did not do it. So only 40% of us, 40% of the time we used to do it. And then how often the students used to create digital content? This is almost zero. Nobody used to create digital content online. If, say, for example, a student learned something and then he wants to share it with the community, how often that used to happen? Almost nil. They never used to do it. But what is the new normal? Now, post-COVID lockdown, or what, post-COVID, whatever you want to call, now what is happening? No college life, zero college life, right? I am pretty sure that each of you who are listening to this particular webinar will all miss your college life, right? You all miss the canteen, even if it is bad, the places where you used to hang out, and also the classes, live classes, the lab, meeting your friends. No college life, zero college life. Limited interaction with students for us, faculty, in very, very limited interaction. No or almost no hands-on, at least for people who have to, rig up the circuits in the lab, do some hands-on in a mechanical lab or a civil lab, almost zero, right? For us, computer science and information science, we are fortunate enough to have these screen sharing tools, so we can run the IDE or a tool here on our screen and share it, and people can see it. But with others, it's almost no hands-on. And no colleagues to interact, of course. Few were reachable, few were unreachable. So that happened, and then no face-to-face meetings at all, or almost nil. From now on, the change occurred. So use of online platforms for teaching, learning, 100%. So everybody had to throng onto the net, the online platforms like, Moodle, or Camilo, or Edmodo, whatever you want to name. So there are so many tools to, manage the course. And then to conduct live classes, there were the very first company which raised up to the situation was Cisco. So they were the first to throw up the tool free of cost with no limitation whatsoever to the teaching fraternity and to everybody. So we all leveraged on Cisco WebEx a lot. So Zoom was having a lot of problems, so we never got into Zoom at all. But Cisco WebEx, amazing tool to run live classes. So 100% teaching learning on online platforms. Involvement of the students is where is my worry about. Only 60% in our college, in my cohort, I could reach. The remaining 40 was generally unreachable, or possibly there were some other issues, which I'm going to touch upon later. And then new online content creation, 100%. All our classes used to get recorded. All the new lab experiments were getting recorded. They were going on to the YouTube channel or different other platforms. So 100% content creation. And then new online content creation by students. This is quite interesting. Now you may ask me, what did the students create? There were two folds to it. Now, the thing is, we had asked few students to, create few things like, say, for example, they have to record a video of explaining a particular concept and share with us. They started doing it, few of them. That's why I told you 60. This is one part of it. The other 60, other part of this student digital content creation is that they take up to these YouTube channels and Instagram and other places, and then start trolling the lectures. This is something which we all experienced. I'm pretty sure that all the other panelists also would have experienced this. A lot of disturbance in the classes, unsolicited messages and stuff like that, which is actually not the normal or expected. So this kind of digital creation also, started picking up. So this became a new normal. And then we found out ways to kind of contain that. That's a different issue, but that's what it is. The next question that arises is, what did I realize personally? Personally, what I realized was content matters the most, not the platform. Whether it is Edmodo, whether it is Camilo, whether it is Moodle or whatever, what you deliver matters the most. Whether that is reaching the students, whether that is what the students need, this matters the most, not the platform. And then, of course, in this regard, I have to thank my management and the principal, because they gave us 100% kind of freedom in choosing whatever digital platform we could choose. They did not enforce anything on us. So that was pretty appreciable. And then interaction and approach matters the most, not the platform again. Whether you use YouTube, whether you use WhatsApp or whatever, but how do you interact with the students? Whether you're willing to listen to their problems, whether you're listening to address their issues, this matters the most, and the approach matters the most. TLP, right? Teaching learning process matters the most, again, not the platform. So how do you break up the content to deliver it online? Delivering a thing online and delivering it offline, there's a lot of difference. Now, how do you change the curriculum or the way you deliver things? How do you break up the things? What other tools you want to use? All these matters, again, not the platform. Hands-on matters the most, not the place where you do it, right? So whether you do it on your laptop or in the lab, that should not matter, but then hands-on is the most important thing. So luckily, as I told you, we are all fortunate enough to have be in information science and CSE. We can run these hands-on sessions pretty much 90% of the time very easily, but for few EC related labs, Otherwise, we can very easily run it. So we have the laptop that run the IDE, show it online, anything is possible. And then continuous learning, right? This is something which I want to emphasize on. Whatever stops, learning should not stop. So you did not go to college, possibly few of us did not get a chance to draw full salary. I'm not talking about my college, but there are few of other colleges. Educators are in huge pressure, right? I mean, you all understand that. So whatever it is, continuous learning should happen. Learning should never stop. So that is what I realized, and I took up a lot of personal courses. I enrolled onto few courses on Coursera. I had few beautiful sessions, and I met online all the beautiful wonderful lecturers who run those things and all that. So that was a very wonderful experience for me. So there are a few things that I did. What did I do to keep the online engagement interesting? Emotional connect. Rather than straight away dashing with the concepts, I used to spend time with the students for first few minutes to kind of ease the situation, get them into the comfort zone, and then start the lecture, right? I mean, that's exactly what any lecturer will do, even in an offline session. But on an online session, that kind of adds up, and you have to possibly wait for all of them to join, and continuously ask whether I am audible, whether the screen is visible, and this kind of connect worked out for me. And then trying to understand the situation of the students. So majority of the time, when you feel that students are not turning up to your class, you may feel, right? I mean, they're missing it out, but that's not the case. Not always. There are situations where students will not be able to attend, and you have to understand it. And continuous interaction with students through WhatsApp call, video chats, or whatever. This was very specific to my project team. I'm sure every faculty would be guiding a bunch of student projects. So it becomes very difficult for them to bind themselves together and to achieve the project and complete it. So at this time, it becomes very important as a guide, to involve in their group and then make them work. This happened with me initially. They all forgot that they are in 8th semester. They had to do a project. But I mean, I also left it just like that. But then I realized, no, this is the right time for me to intervene and then, pep up them and then ask them to take it up again. So interaction with students through WhatsApp calls, whatever, did work out for me. And then making digital platform official. Now few of the students will have a notion that how is WhatsApp official, how is a mail official, how is a teaching learning platform like Emilo or Moodle official, because we are all used to hard copies. A notice in a notice board is more official than a SMS. So we made sure that the students realize that these platforms are official. If anything comes there, that's official. That's almost like a notice board. Initially, we had few issues in making the students understand that anything that comes on a WhatsApp is official. You can't miss it out. And then the students picked it up, right? And then one more thing we tried to do was to relax all the stringent rules. Whatever we had with pro-COVID era, pre-COVID era, right? I mean, pre-COVID era, whatever stringent rules we had to relax. Of course, this everybody would have done it, whether it is in terms of conduction of IA or the methodology that you follow to conduct a lab IA. All these kind of things relax because, as I mentioned earlier, only 60% we could touch upon. Remaining 40 was losing out on all these things. Personally, I was fortunate enough to be working in JIT. For us at JIT, we were never worried about our remuneration, salaries. We were paid full. That took a lot of burden from an educator's point of view personally. And then they gave us a lot of freedom to conduct online classes, the platform to be used, the way you connect an IA. All this kind of freedom that an educator needs were given. And then I was also fortunate to have free version of Cisco WebEx and Gmeet. This was seriously. I mean, I in fact, I tagged for one of my posts on LinkedIn, the CEO, and then he thanked me there, right? So he liked my post actually. This is from Cisco, John Chambers, and then to have a cooperating family. Yes, this matters the most, because if you have a cranky kid, or if you are alone to take up your kid and all that, that becomes very difficult for an educator to run an online session of almost 1 hour. So I was fortunate to have a cooperating family, and then to have students who listen to you. So all those 60 students who used to turn up, 60% of the students who used to turn up for the class, sometimes it used to shoot up to 80% also. They used to listen to you. They never used to misbehave, They found some value in whatever you teach. And then to live in an era where digital connectivity is decent, in an area where digital connectivity is decent. I live in Shakambri Nagar, and I am running, I'm running on Airtel, so fortunate enough to have decent digital connectivity. And then to have ACM and Springer open up for free. I don't know how many of the student fraternity know this. ACM and Springer, they opened up all the research papers for free of cost. So that's one very nice gesture from those guys. And then to have a Coursera free courses. This also mattered the most. As I told you, we have to learn continuously, so that mattered the most at that time. When I was teaching, I did a lot of experimentation. So my interaction with students during the class, few Q&A, I used to ask them the questions. They had to reply back with a message in the chat box. This pretty much, the success rate was only 40%. Majority of the time, they did not respond, or possibly they could not, or whatever. I tried a interesting concept called pair programming. What I did was I ran a 2-hour session in a night at around 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock. We had to implement an algorithm in a subject called file structures. And then I posted a message. It was not planned at all. It was just a random thing. I posted a message on a WhatsApp group. Around 10 out of 62 or so joined. So I'm sorry, that is a different card. 10 out of 40 joined the meet, and they all started coding along with me. So this is something which I tried, and it limited success. Personal projects. I am teaching a course called OOC. I'm supposed to teach Java to students, and I encourage a lot of them to take up personal projects on Java. Again, success rate is very minimum. Few of them could do it, few of them could not. And then online certifications. I asked few of the students to take up online certifications. I myself took a lot of certifications. That also kind of worked out only 40% of the time. So that's all what I had. So this is the new normal. So this is the way I run my classes, and then other QA sessions and all that. So we have to adjust to this, right? That's what I told you. We had a cooperating family. I had a cooperating family. So this is the new normal. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
That was an amazing presentation, and you mentioned about the normal life which you're leading today with a cooperating family for your particular educating life. That sounds great. That really sounds great. And I do have a question. You mentioned about the content matters the most, and you're creating content in a very good manner for the digital sectors. How are you going to teach the students for having this content, which is going to matter most for their future lives?
That's what. See, there are multiple folds. One is to make them understand that continuous learning matters the most, and to leave them to these beautiful platforms like edX, Coursera, Udemy, and all that, and even NPTEL to a certain extent, and to take varied courses, not just technical. There are few soft skill training sessions and courses, time management courses, and then we encouraged our students to take up all those. And our placement director, she had arranged a lot of other sessions online during the COVID time, where we used to call the experts, conduct a webinar, and then make them. And then we also had a counseling session, I believe, online counseling session. So, and then we also encourage, coming to technical part, as I told you, we made it as part of our assignments or something. Few of us tried to make sure that the students record few sessions of lab experiments and then post it or share it with us, and then we curate it and then share it with others. So we made sure that our students are kind of getting prepared for such things.
That's really educated to hear about this. Your management giving good support for you and for your other co staff out there, and
Correct,
it's
exactly.
really good to hear about. It's really good about to hear that every educator is getting a good platform out there. But how do you think the quality education is being brought to students through virtually?
As I told you, see, all the other learned panelists also expressed their concern regarding this. This digital divide is something which we all have to worry about. We have families which can't even afford a laptop or a mobile phone as of now. So that's one concern. And then taking all of them together is a problem because of that. And then having said that, there is this problem of mindset in the students also. Given that they have digital connectivity, they have laptop, they have mobile phone or smartphone or whatever, I have seen people who missed out on a lot of online sessions. So this is something which is much more worrying. All those guys who could not reach us because of a digital divide, they have a reason. But those guys who have all the things with them, still not participating in such virtual learning, actually matters. I mean, actually increases our worry, right? This is something which we also try to address. We try to call each one of us personally, all of them personally, and then try to make them understand the importance of attending the online classes. And then, we could reach somewhere around 80-85% of attendance. Of course, we took a survey also, and that survey said that majority of the time, say for example, subjects like math or where EC related subjects, online teaching doesn't work out well. There is a lot of gaps. So for such things, we need to worry. Otherwise, say for example, a programming language or other CSIS concepts that you generally teach can always be taught on a PPT and a virtual wall where we can annotate and write things. That should not be a problem. That's what I feel.
Yeah, in my personal view,
Yeah.
see, grabbing the attention of students is really challenging, for 40 minutes or even 1 hour.
Correct, sir. I
Okay,
agree.
because they will be online, and one of the best part that I could get from Cisco WebEx is I'll be knowing who are all active, who are all inactive. I'll just with them. There are possibilities that students they just switch on the this thing, a
Correct.
system or mobile or something, and then just move away. How to grab that? That is the challenging. What I'm attending to. I'll just first before the commencement of the today's topic. I'll go back and interact with the students what it was covered in the previous session in the form of a quiz or interaction. I expect each individual, whatever the questions that is being asked, to interact and give the solution. It would
Correct.
be, it would be in the form of quiz or a small, answer, something like that. And I'll make them to attend to and to be attentive in my class,
Yes.
and slowly I'll gradually I'll take the attention of these students, and I'll start with the preamble. What is that? At the end of this session, what are the things that you will be learning? To make them active, in the middle of my session, I'll ask questions, and they must have to answer to chat or unmute their audio. They must. This is how we must have to make them, because even for us, probably having seat for being the panel here, there are a possibility that I'll be getting diverted with other activities if it is something being diverted
Correct.
here.
Correct.
So
Very
how
correct.
can we expect from the students community? Okay, so some exercises must have to be done in this aspect. That's one thing that at the end probably we can come out with more interaction. And see, online we must have to go for more interaction rather than one way teaching. So, and we must have to look upon the other aspect to make them to be comfortable. Okay,
Correct.
not just academics. I must have to interact, asking some of this, I know questions which is related to is, how is the situation, how is that, happening in your
Exactly.
area,
Exactly.
etc., to grab the attention and make it active for 1 hour or 40 minutes, whatever that. One thing, another aspect, Mr. Dhanush, is it? Yeah. You are asking about
Yes,
this
yes, sir.
placement. I gave that information for the reason that usually all this activity would be done in the art semester, and there it is luckily the students are not being affected much, and now that would be done for the next year. These the present final students already, most of them whosoever have attended the activity have got placed, and depending on their credibility and other aspects. So, and the next phase would be commencing from August, September onwards. So that is what I need to mention. Otherwise, it's happening with whatever the possible way that we need. Yeah.
Yes, 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 sir. Yes, and that's really amazing to have Vadiraju sir, Mahendra Prakash sir, and Siddhappa sir, and also Anupam ma'am to the platform of Planetech Media House. And hereby, I conclude the session. That was amazing to have you all on the platform of Planetech Media House. I really had a very good
Thank
informative and
you.
educative session on COVID impact on educational sector. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
guys. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.